Welcome to the SVG-TV News for Friday, July 22nd. I am Khalil Kato with the details for tonight. Educators and policymakers were involved in sessions designed to examine the challenges facing the country's education sector. The National Consultation for Transforming Education Summit, a joint collaboration between the Ministry of Education and the United Nations, which focused on the gaps in the education sector, was held at the Methodist Church Hall on Thursday. Speaking at the forum, Minister of Education Curtis King said in seeking to transform the education sector, it is important to raise the bar on quality education.
For national education targets and benchmarks, in other words, are we satisfied with what we are delivering? Are we satisfied with the performance of the system? Can we go further? These are all critical issues. And quickly, as I'm saying, it puts the focus on every component of our education system and demand of them accountability. Whether it be the apex body, the Ministry of Education, the schools, the teachers, and all the critical stakeholders. And we also have to ask the question of the ministry on a whole. Is the ministry designed in a manner that will allow it to focus on all those important components of education that would help us to realize an education that is inclusive, an education that is lifelong, an education that is of a high quality? Is our education ministry structured and organized in the manner to deliver those things?
Minister King also said a number of challenges hindering education achievement need to be urgently addressed.
Are we satisfied that we are making enough efforts in special education? Are we satisfied with the performance of the primary schools? When we still have issues where after 7 years, students are moving into secondary schools, reading far below the reading level at which they should be? Are we satisfied with what we are seeing coming out of the secondary school? Even as we boast about percentage pass rate, are we satisfied that higher education, technical, vocational and education and training, are we satisfied that we are doing enough given what is demanded of us? And these are issues we have to address, and we can't turn our back on them, and we can't be defensive. We have to face them frontwards and deal with them in an honest manner. Because that's the only how we are going to create this post-colonial and modern economy that we are hoping, that we are seeking to have, to enhance the living circumstances of our people.
Chief Education Officer K. Martin Jack said the global pandemic and the eruption of La Soufrière further impacted the existing issues which educators faced, but also presented opportunities to develop a well-rounded system to meet the needs of Vincentian students.
The challenge for us to continue to provide top-notch educational services to the people of this nation, though small but real, and they're not isolated to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, our region or hemisphere. The introduction of the COVID-19 pandemic and the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano has certainly added to our conundrum of issues. Still, we continue to face these challenges head-on and are resolved to adapt to our circumstances in order to meet the high standard of education and educating we have become accustomed to.
UNICEF's Deputy Representative for the Eastern Caribbean area, Tanyo Radosavljevic, also spoke at the forum and noted that COVID-19 severely impacted face-to-face learning in the region, forcing stakeholders in education to adapt to new methods of delivery, but which posed other issues, especially when it came to access. Issues discussed at the national consultation are expected to guide and inform overall education policies and initiatives in SVG. The National Youth Parliament concluded with the passing of the Education Transformation Bill 2022 in the House of Assembly on Thursday. Youth parliamentarians from primary, secondary and tertiary levels made contributions to the debate, while senior government officials and members of the opposition observed. Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar said the National Youth Parliament highlights the wealth of talent in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I had as a mantra in my young 20s that St. Vincent and the Grenadines were in need of an exceptional cadre of multi-talented and multifaceted young persons who would not only be inward looking but will look to build better communities, build a stronger nation, a stronger sub-region and a stronger region and a stronger world. And what we are seeing here today at the Youth Parliament, we are seeing young persons coming forward to showcase their talents. I spent some time this morning speaking to them, telling them also what to expect. And I can remember when I was in secondary school that I participated in 2 youth parliaments. So I'm really happy to see the showcase.
Junior Speaker of the House, Jeremy Kennedy, expressed thanks to the Minister of Education, Curtis King, and the staff of the House of Assembly for the opportunity to be part of the National Youth Parliament.
We wish to express gratitude to the Minister of Education and ministry officials for their ready assistance with the selection of the youth parliamentarians. I'd like to thank Madam Clerk, Ms. Nicole Herbert, for her time and counsel. Also, thank you for the staff for being so accommodating and welcoming. Thank you to the youth parliamentarians who are present today for their participation and dedication, and to those who have not been mentioned by name but have been present from the beginning to show their support. Ultimately, the youth parliamentarians express their gratitude for the extensive training in parliamentary procedure.
New markets for city vendors are expected to be ready by next month. This is according to the Minister of Local Government and Urban Development, Senator Julian Francis, who provided an update on the plans to clean up the main market in Kingstown. Speaking on Star Radio, Senator Francis says government officials and the Town Planning Board will conduct a walkthrough of the new facilities ahead of the move.
So on the 2nd of August, Local Government and Town Board will be doing a walkthrough with BAGSA in these 3 facilities. One is at the Customs Building, opposite Graves Supermarket. One is 2 of them, the other 2 are opposite the Iron Man. The stores for completion and availability by the Town Board will be by the mid of August. So to ensure everything is in place, and although they promise major works to complete by the 31st of they say give them until the middle of August, and they will assure us, they're assuring us now that we will have them, and that is the date we are working with. What we intend to do then, once they have been handed over to us, we will then have them open for the public to view the conditions of these markets.
Senator Francis also says prior to the relocation, the ministry will meet with the vendors in groups starting from August 2nd.
We intend to start having discussions with vendors in groups from the 4th of August. There's the walkthrough on the 2nd of August, and we have divided them into groups to make it easy, because there's no way that we can hold in August around that time. So we are going to divide them from Jack's Building to Heritage Square as the first group we're going to talk to. Those are the vendors, the dry goods vendors that block up all the areas in Middle Street. If you drive through there, there's absolutely no room to park a motor vehicle on a daily basis. So we're going to have discussions with that group. The next group is from Customs to the police station. Customs Building uptown. Put all those vendors together, we will announce where we are going to meet, and we have a man-to-man discussion with them. woman to woman and man to man. And then the next group will be from PH Vera to Randy's. So we're going to have that discussion with them.
Agriculture Minister Saboto Caesar is encouraging citizens to buy more locally produced goods when shopping at supermarkets. This encouragement comes as the government seeks to make efforts to improve food security with the opening of a food terminal at the former Lacroix boxing plant in Mariaquah.
I want to use this opportunity to encourage our citizens, the housewives in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, when you go to purchase at the supermarkets, look for the locally produced goods. Value addition is very important, and we are noticing in our supermarkets that we have more locally produced agro-processed goods available. We have to support our local agro-processors.
A fertilizer yield response assessment in Dasheen production was conducted this week by officials in the Ministry of Agriculture. The assessment was carried out on Godfrey Warren's farm located at Francois in District 5 East. Agricultural Officer Donawa Jackson said the purpose of the fertilizer yield response assessment was to determine the yield per acre based on recommendations given to the farmer with regards to fertilizer rates, timing of application, and placement of methods. He added that the assessment was done to examine the impact of the government's fertilizer subsidies in contributing to the overall production of Dasheen. He further indicated that the findings have shown an overall increase in fertilizer use and yield per acre. Earlier this year, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines provided a massive discounts on fertilizer to farmers due to a significant increase in the price of the commodity globally. This was done in an effort to reduce the cost of production in the agriculture sector. Following the recent announcement of the scarcity of brown sugar nationwide, health officials are looking at the situation positively. Community dietitian Alicia Ferdinand, who was interviewed on NBC's Face-to-Face talk show program, says the plan is to use the opportunity to raise awareness on the dangers of unhealthy sugar consumption. Ferdinand also says the lack of sugar available currently is a step towards keeping the Vincentian population healthy.
Especially for persons who are diabetic, persons who just may be trying to lose a bit of weight. So we know sugar, we can term sugar into two terms, natural and added. So natural sugars is what we would normally find in our fruits, in our dairy products such as milk, and some persons actually do not know that we actually find sugar in milk, and some vegetables. So we do have some starchy vegetables that contains starches that would break down into sugar eventually. So while they're the natural sources of sugar, they also have the other components that the body would need. So vitamins, nutrients, calcium, protein, and versus the added sugars, which is our brown sugars, our white sugars, because while we can get the natural sugars from our natural foods, which we do encourage, we want persons to be more aware of their added sugar and their added sugar intake, because the more of the added sugars that you may use, it can have a negative effect on the body.
The community dietitian notes Vincentians consume high amounts of sugar, and she shares some healthy alternatives.
You don't necessarily have to always do a milk tea.
Right.
You could always do a ginger tea. That's more natural. That is a spice that would not give you any added sugars.
Okay.
You also have nutmeg. So what I like to encourage my patients to do, especially for breakfast, porridge is always excellent for breakfast. A lot of them will say, "Miss, but you tell me no sugar." Of course, no sugar. And the reason why is because once you're using milk, you will get sugar from that milk. But I always encourage them to use those spices. And to make that breakfast more sustainable, what I tell them to do, add a natural fruit. So instead of adding that brown sugar or that white sugar to that porridge, you use the natural sugars from your fruit to give you that little oomph. So the body would break down that natural sugar differently as compared to the brown sugar or the white sugar when added to that porridge.
Ferdinand warns Vincentians to be sure that they are consuming natural honey.
You have to be mindful of the source of your honey, because a lot of persons, once you know you're getting it straight from the hive, as soon as the person take out and they're taking that natural honey, okay, fine. But there are some persons, or there are some products, some honey products that actually have natural actually have added sugars added to them, and it's not natural honey. So I always tell persons to be mindful. Reading food labels is also important in this instance for a product like honey, because you can look at the ingredients list and you can see, okay, if they're telling you this is natural honey, but on the back of the ingredients list, you notice they have a syrup with it, then you know that is not natural. But when it comes to the natural honey, I would encourage persons, instead of using it every day, you don't have to. You can include it once in a while, and then you just look at the portion in terms of how much you use. So normally recommended just a teaspoon, not the big tablespoon, not the big pot spoon, but a teaspoon.
As schools across SVG have closed for the summer vacation, parents are being encouraged to pay close attention to the amount of sugar they allow their children to consume on a daily basis. In noting that greater effort must be made by parents, Ferdinand urges parents not to become overwhelmed with the thought of preparing healthy meals.
The easiest way is always to go to the natural way. So there are lots of natural products that, instead of using the sugar-sweetened beverages, the chocolates, the Concords, those things, you do have other options. So let's say you have a child who likes popsicle. You can look for a natural fruit. You can blend that same fruit, and you can use it in the same popsicle form. If it is a milk base, you always look at the type of milk. So instead of using condensed milk, for example, you use a low-fat milk, and you can have a nice little popsicle for your son or daughter that they could munch on, as compared to the popsicle selling differently, where they would add the white sugars or the brown sugars, which is not any added benefit.
Ferdinand offers suggestions on easy and natural snack alternatives for children.
Like yogurts. So yogurt is also something that is natural as well. What we would encourage with the yogurt, that you look for a plain one without the fruits, but you add your fruits, because the fruit within that yogurt, that is added sugars as compared to a natural banana or natural apple, which has the natural sugars. So you compare and plain yogurt with fruit. You can mix it up in a nice little bowl, blend it if you want for them, freeze it, tell them, look, some natural ice cream. That's something that you can do as well. Once that sugar is in there, they would never complain about that taste. See, that's the good thing about natural fruits. The sugars, you would never, but you just have to try. So you always have to look at alternatives with them, and you always try to do it in smaller portions, and try not to force them into it, because they can resist in that way. But those are some things that they could use. They could use fruits, yogurt. We have popcorn, and popcorn that you're popping at home. That's also a nice little snack that you can give to your son or daughter. As a snack, it has lots of fiber, so it's, once you don't add the added salts and all the other butters naturally. So those are some snacks that they can do.
Police have arrested and charged a 45-year-old janitor of Fairhall and Georgetown with the offense of theft. Investigations reveal that Sherma Adams allegedly stole 4 gold rings valued at $4,600, 1 gold anklet valued at $275, 2 gold wrist bangles valued at $380, 1 gold chain with a gold pendant valued at $1,800, and 1 Michael Kors watch valued at $750. The items are the property of a 55-year-old supervisor of Lodge Village and were stolen between March 25th and July 16th. Also charged with theft is 41-year-old Alan Williams, a mechanic of Arnisvale. According to investigations, the accused allegedly stole 1 gold and platinum iPhone valued at $1,900, 1 screen protector valued at $40, and 1 iPhone case valued at $29. The cellular phone and accessories are the property of a 63-year-old retired manager of the USA and Camden Park. The items were stolen at Arnisvale on July 17th. Meanwhile, Bilton Primus, a 40-year-old shopkeeper of Cane Hall, was arrested and charged with handling stolen goods. Investigations revealed that Primus, allegedly knowing or believing that the iPhone and its accessories were stolen goods, dishonestly received the same for his own benefit. The incident reportedly occurred on July 18th. All 3 accused are expected to appear before the Magistrates Court in Kingstown to answer to the charges.